Good morning. It is Sunday and it is the 21st of March. Welcome to spring. It's great to have that time of the year coming. We'll be able to get outside and enjoy the sunshine and the breezes, and it'll be a good relief. Hopefully we can do some getting together as the weather gets nicer. We don't have to worry about being indoors. We can enjoy the outside together. So looking forward to that. As I said, it is Sunday, which means we start a new week with John Stott. And remember, this is a devotion book that's not written just for 2021. It's a devotion book to be used year-round, any year. And if you were to take a look at it, you would find that in the front are devotions put together in groupings throughout the church calendar year. And the time of the church calendar year we are in is from January to April, from Christmas to Pentecost, an overview of the Gospels. And so obviously our reading where we are is not exactly batched up with our calendar year. And where he's at with his readings. And so we've been through the last night of his time together with the disciples, and last week and now today, the ordeal begins is the title of this section. It says the Last Supper ended with a hymn, probably Psalms 115 through 118, which concluded the Hallel, and so the Passover meal. Jesus and the 12, though now without Judas, then walked together to an orchard called Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives, where they regularly spent the night. Here Jesus experienced an agony of distress, which helps us to understand what he was about to suffer on the cross. There then followed in succession his betrayal by Judas, his denial by Peter, and his trials before the Sanhedrin, Herod, and Pilate, leading up to the terrible mocking and scourging to which he was subjected by the soldiers. Again, it is Sunday. It is March the 21st. The title of today's devotion is The Agony in the Garden. The suggested reading is Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, verses 32 through 42. He starts off with the verse from verses 33 and 34 of that passage, Mark 14. He, meaning Jesus, began to be deeply distressed and troubled. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death, he said to his disciples. Jesus' agony in the olive orchard provides a vivid example of the paradox of his person. On the one hand, we see his human hunger for the companionship and prayer support of his friends, together with the recognition that his will could be distinct from the Father's. Not my will, but thine be done. We know those famous words, that famous prayer. On the other hand, even in the midst of his pain, he spoke to God in the unique intimacy of the address Abba, Father. That's in verse 36 of our passage. But what was his distress? The Greek words deserve to be more vividly translated than they are in the NIV. The REB is better. I assume that means Revised English Bible is better. It reads, horror and anguish overwhelmed him, and he said to them, my heart is ready to break with grief. And Luke alone adds with his medical interest, remember he was a doctor, with his medical interest that, quote, his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. Luke 22:44. Jesus referred to his coming ordeal as a cup from which he shrank in dread. Was it simply death? Socrates met his end in the prison cell in Athens in a very different mood. He drank his end. He drank his cup of hemlock. Plato wrote, without trembling, very cheerfully and quietly. So was Socrates braver than Jesus? No, all the evidence is against this. Jesus' physical and moral courage had not for a moment wavered. In that case, their cups must have been filled with different poisons. The cup that Jesus ardently longed to avoid was neither the physical pain of crucifixion nor the mental anguish of desertion by his friends, but the spiritual horror of bearing the sins of the world. In the Old Testament, the cup was a regular symbol of God's wrath. For example, Isaiah described Jerusalem after its destruction as having, quote, drunk from the hand of the Lord the cup of his wrath. And that's in Isaiah 51:17. From the agony in the garden, Jesus emerged with a resolute determination to go to the cross. Though John does not include an account of Gethsemane, he does include a saying that the other evangelists do not. In John 18:11, shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? That's when those around him were trying to dissuade him from doing what he told them must be done. I know we've been told about the physical horror of the cross. Maybe you've seen movies that portray that bloody horror, and that's what the Romans intended it to be, a shameful, bloody, torturous, painful, agonizing death. They were not instantly killed. We've talked about this in our Sunday morning messages through our series in Lent. It was intended to last upwards of 3 and 4 days. They were crucified naked, shaming them. The worst that humankind can do to each other. But that wasn't what Jesus agonized over. We looked at his words from the cross, his prayer from the cross last Sunday. My God, why have you forsaken me? At that moment, Jesus was being made sin. He was being made a curse for us. And it was agonizing to have mystery of mysteries, somewhat of a separation between members of the Trinity, Father and Son. It's a mystery. Can't understand it. We can only take it by faith. Focus in on that in the time we still have between now and Easter, between now and when we get to the joyous resurrection. Take that in. What he did for us, what he suffered for us. God sent his Son into the world because he does love us. And Jesus was willing to do the Father's will in dying and suffering for us. It's a thought that bears deep introspection and looking at with the help of men like John Stott. Blessings to you today. I hope you're able to worship the Lord today. Find time. Maybe this is your worship today, this devotion. Maybe you'll catch the sermon that'll be uploaded later on this Facebook page. But however you're going to do it today, make sure there's time to focus on the Lord alone. Amen.